You know, they have all these hashtag trends that get started on social media and then become the buzzwords and the catchphrases. Let's start a new one in honor of the anti-coronavirus. We're sick and tired of being under house arrest. Open America now. Hashtag Flatten the Fear. I have been going on for weeks about, first of all, what makes an expert an expert. See, to me, an expert is not only somebody that has lots of experience, but a track record of success. And what we are learning every day is the experts have been wrong. They have been wrong about all of it. Absolutely every bit of it. Right down to Governor Cuomo, that they have tried to, make our emperor and have basically given him deified godlike status with an 80% approval rating. And yet, look at the fact that 1/3 of the deaths and cases of coronavirus in this country are from New York. Number 2 is New Jersey. Number 3 is Connecticut. Number 4 is Massachusetts. And if you've ever been to that part of the country, I used to live there, I can tell you that's all interconnected. And basically, New Jersey and Connecticut, they're just the suburbs for New York City. People work in the city, they live in Connecticut, they live in Jersey. That's how it works. So really, when you put all of their numbers together, it's about half of the crapola that we are having to deal with in this country, and that's if those numbers have been reported accurately. And there's an awful lot of evidence to prove that they haven't, because after all, if you're the governor, a Democratic governor of a bankrupt blue state, hey, coronavirus and federal funding and emergency funding, it became the new piggy bank cash cow to get your state out of hock. But one thing is abundantly clear. Cuomo mismanaged from day one. Remember when he said back in March, we're not going to close New York City? Now it's closed, and it doesn't look like there's any opening in sight for New York City. He had the brilliant idea, anybody that tests positive for corona, near fatality, stick them in nursing homes. And look at where 90% of the deaths in the state of New York have taken place. Nursing homes. He's killed the old people. Yet, he knows more about dealing with coronavirus than Donald Trump. It's sad. It's just sad that people with a political agenda and an absolute visceral hatred for this president, they want him silenced on Twitter. They don't want him holding press conferences. If he takes chloroquine, then nobody can have chloroquine. You know what? If he came out and said that he just took the vaccine and it works, that'd be the fastest way to end the push from Fauci and Gates for a vaccine, because the backlash would be such, well, if Trump took it, I'm not taking it. It's unbelievable. But the evidence is now clear. We have been lied to. We knew that. The numbers, who can trust the numbers? We're watching now businesses that are reopening trying to keep up with whatever insane lunacy the CDC comes up with. The other day telling us, you don't really have to disinfect anymore. That's not how it's done. Then why are you requiring restaurants? Why are you requiring restaurants to hang shower curtains around their booths? It's just, it's beyond insane. And I think the majority of the country now sees and understands this insanity. And they've had enough. Again, we were told 2 weeks of shutdown to flatten the curve. 2 weeks became 4. 4 weeks became 2 months. And for some states and some municipalities and some cities, there's no end in sight. The governor of Pennsylvania has said he will not reopen until there's a vaccine. Well, York, Pennsylvania, following the lead of Atwater, California, has basically said, no, we got to get going again. And they have been led by a father-son team of a diner in York, Pennsylvania.
They say to save their business and their livelihoods, they have no choice. Joining us now are owners of Round the Clock Diner in York, Pennsylvania, Dimas and Christos Sakharos. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Saccarellis. Guys, first off, Demos, to you. Why on Mother's Day did you say, I've had enough, not doing just takeout, people could come in? Why?
Because we had people coming in and take food out, and it's sitting right in at the parking lot and eat right in the car. And they were telling us, please open up, please open up. We have over 100 people, 160 people working in here. These people try to support their families. And we decide to open up on Mother's Day. People were overwhelming, and everyone walking in the door say, thank you for opening, thank you, thank you. And they sit down like regular people, like we used to do it. No. And we're not little kids. We're not in a communist country.
You also have made adjustments to your place, right, Demos? You made adjustments because of the virus, correct? So tell me, so you made the adjustments. You have the customers. No one's getting sick. What do you say to What do you say to these leaders that keep restaurants like yours shut down, Christos?
Well, look, we did we flattened the curve. We sat down. Now it's time to stand up, flatten the fear.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Flatten the fear. Absolutely love that. That needs to be our new hashtag catchphrase motto. We have got to flatten the fear. I live in an area where restaurants reopened for indoor service yesterday. My family and I went out last night. A lot of tables have been removed, because I got to practice all their social distancing. It's hard to hear the wait staff because they've got their masks on. And as soon as you get up, they're wiping down. And the restaurant we went to, you didn't get your regular menu. They have them photocopied so that they can throw them away, so there's no cross-contamination, which, by the way, again, here we go. We're going to now, wipe out entire forests so we can keep printing up disposable menus rather than just use the menus you have that are coated in plastic. If you got to, wipe them down with a cloth after somebody's held them. Some of this just gets ridiculous. Paper cups instead of the plastic cups. Because again, we're going to have to wipe out an entire forest of trees now to keep producing paper cups. But nonetheless, we went out. The restaurant was fairly full with the seating capacity they had. But I did notice that for the most, we were like the oldest people there. And I'm not old. But we were like the oldest people there. It was a lot of college age, into their 30s. You didn't really see anybody, past 50, except me. And I'm a little concerned that there has been so much fear created, so much hysteria created. I figure it's going to take a week or two of these restaurants being open again for people to catch on. It's okay. It's okay. I pastor a church where we have not shut down for the coronavirus. What I was noticing, my attendance was dropping off on Sundays. Each week, we were losing about 20 to 30 people. Seriously. And by the last indoor service we had, it had really just dwindled down. So we decided to go the drive-in format. And our attendance skyrocketed. Literally skyrocketed. We have picked up people from other churches whose pastors aren't doing anything. A lot of people really don't want to just do internet church. They want to be around other people, even if it's in a car. So we did that, and it has been exciting, but we have kept our other services going. Our Bible studies, our midweek Wednesday night service have been in the building, and people are coming. And we clean, and we social distance, but we didn't shut down anything. Now, some churches did shut down. Some because they were mandated to. But there's a whole lot of pastors that just voluntarily said,
we need to set a good example, and we need to be team players here, and we need to show the community that, we're all in this together, so we're going to shut down.
You're a moron. Pastor, you shouldn't say that. You're a moron. Pastor, you're talking about fellow clergy members. You're a moron. Pastor in Florida, where they didn't have to shut down. He started to think, people driving by our church on Sunday, they see cars in the parking lot. It's going to bother them. We're offending them. We're going to shut down to show them that we're all in this together. I'm sorry, chapter and verse on that? Another pastor, so-called alleged pastor, Pensacola, Florida, he did a whole video at the outset of this, why it was biblical for the church to do this separation, why this is what the Apostle Paul would have encouraged the churches to do, and he went through the history of the 1917 flu, which, by the way, this is nothing like the 1917 flu, and I'm sick and tired of hearing those comparisons. I really, really am. So that all said, we're going back in our building on the 31st. I will probably lose some people. And I understand I have some older members that really right now, their comfort level, and they are in the risk category. And I understand that. But we're doing what we have to do. You know, even at, CDC releases, their little, you don't have to do all that disinfecting now because it's really, that's how the virus is spread. Well, gee, thanks. I wish you had told me that before we ordered several $100s worth of disinfectant that we had to jump through hoops to get our hands on because there isn't a bottle of Lysol to be had in this country. So we had to buy the medical grade disinfectant that they sell to hospitals and pay top dollar and top shipping dollar to get it here. Thanks for that, CDC. And we've got our disposable masks ready for those that would feel comfortable with that. We've built a couple of hand sanitizing stations and, strategically locating them. We're doing things to raise people's comfort level, yet at the same time, we have a biblical mandate to worship, Hebrews 10:25, but we also have a constitutional right. And governors and local municipalities and sheriffs and police, they don't get to override the Constitution. And some of the pastors who initially went all along with all of this, who are now trying to reopen and they can't, and now they're all, well, where were you in this fight when we needed you? Someone said, and I think this is a great quote, when you wait for permission to exercise your constitutional right, you no longer have a right. You have permission. And permission can be taken away. You think this is the last time they're going to pull this little stunt of shutting things down? This is just the warm-up. It's going to be every virus outbreak now. They're going to enact this. And I'm telling you, they have really targeted churches. Some of these municipalities, some of these governors, it's over the top. They won't even let them have drive-in outdoor service. Or if you're going to have people, it was Kansas City, 50 people, and if they stay longer than 10 minutes, you got to have their name, address, and contact information. Well, what? This is unbelievable. A pastor in Maryland, Stacy Shiflett of Calvary Baptist Church, has become my new hero. Because basically, he is saying it is time to flatten the fear. And by the way, it's also time to stand up for the Constitution.
So newsflash, Pharaoh doesn't get to dictate to God's people how they worship their God. God's the one that defines the parameters. God's the one that communicates His will and His plan for His church, not Egypt. And I'm telling you right now, with this cease and desist letter in my hand, the Bible says to the New Testament church, not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, but so much the more as you see the day approaching. And the closer we get to Jesus coming back, the more church we ought to be having, not less church. Now that's God's parameters. So I'm tearing up this cease and desist order right here, and I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it God's way. We're going to do it God's way. God tells us how to worship Him. Nobody else gets to do that.
Boom. There it is. In Michigan, Governor Whitmer, every time people exercise their constitutionally protected right to assemble to peaceably protest. She adds days to their lockdown, which, by the way, they've caught her now at her little lake home resort for the holiday weekend. While the rest of the state has to be on lockdown and can't go anywhere, she is partying in the woods with her family and having cookouts and all of that stuff, and the camera's caught up to her. Is anything going to happen to her? Well, let me see. Let me think about that for a moment. She's a Democrat. Her own state's court said that she can continue this lockdown without consent from the legislature. And the governor of the People's Republic of New York, Cuomo, has literally gotten away with murder. And the New York media thinks he's going to be the replacement for Joe Biden. And to the national media, he is the second coming of Jesus. So, no, nothing's going to happen to her. Nothing ever happens to Democrats. It's always the Republicans who pay the price. It's always you and I, the law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, we pay the price. We're the ones that will go to jail for not wearing a mask, while child molesters and rapists and murderers are being let out of jail so they don't get thick. This is what we're dealing with. So what we need to do is we need to be very vocal now. Flatten the fear. And anytime you see a news article online about a business or a pastor standing up and saying, we're not taking this anymore, post it on your social media. We need to let this news get out and go viral. It's that important. We must flatten the fear. Because again, part of the argument is we can make that political argument about why we need to reopen and what we need to do and put that kind of pressure on our politicians. But ultimately, we the people really do hold power. But we got a lot of we the people who have bought into the false narrative, and they're afraid. They're afraid. We've got to help them overcome the fear. You got to let your neighbors know you can go inside and eat in the restaurant. It's okay. By the way, I've noticed some of the national chains, even in states where they've reopened, you can't. McDonald's, you can't go inside. Burger King, you can't go inside. Even Waffle House, which I sometimes refer to as Awful House, is closed in my area, even though the other restaurants are all open. Now, look, I lived for a decade in Florida. Waffle House never closes, even during a hurricane. It's like the one place, even after a hurricane wipes out a community, you know that Waffle House is open. At least you can go somewhere and get a bad cup of coffee and the lights are on. And now they're closed and they haven't reopened. A lot of national chains aren't reopening. It's the mom and pops that are reopening. Go there, support them. Keep them open. Flatten the fear. Hey, that's it for this rant. You have yourself a fantastic holiday weekend. And remember, this is the weekend that we remember. Those who laid their life down to provide you and I with the freedom that we enjoy. They paid liberty's ultimate price. This isn't just about remembering veterans. This is remembering those veterans who kissed mothers and sweethearts goodbye and never got to come home. Memorial Day is not just about what's the big sale at the mall. Memorial Day is remembering the sacrifice. You and I are starting to understand a little something about sacrifice, but not to the level that these true heroes and the sacrifice that they gave for us. They're worthy to be honored and remembered.